Alright, hey, thanks for opting into this video series. I want to start this thing off by telling you how important plants have been to me my entire life, and why after all these years, I first got involved. I went to work in a nursery when I was 16, learned this stuff all by accident, didn't really have any intention of using it. And then in 1979, I was probably 22, 23 years old. I started a landscaping business, and I really, I was good at that. I knew a lot about it, and I went out and I bought, trucks, tractor, the carry-all, hydro seeder, all that stuff that you need to do the full-service landscaping thing. And then at the same time, I started buying some small plants. I bought some rooted cuttings. I planted them out behind the house, out back, and we were taking care of those. We were out doing the landscaping jobs. And see, the landscaping was quick, easy money. Go out, do a job, make $500, $1,000, do another one, make another $1,000. So I thought that kind of business was really where I needed to be. But I quickly learned that as soon as that business slowed down and the economy took a turn and there were no more new homes being built, that all of a sudden I didn't have any landscape work, and I had all this equipment and I had all these monthly payments, and then meanwhile I owed somehow I got into a situation where I owed the IRS a lot of money. It got really, really ugly fast because the IRS was pretty patient for some time, but they're not going to wait forever, and eventually they came and cleaned out my bank accounts. I mean, they took everything that I had. I didn't have a lot, but I had money in my account because I was doing work and I was writing checks. Well, none of that mattered to them. They took everything. They cleaned out my business account, my personal account. My wife and I had, Pam and I had $1.79 in a savings account. They took that. $1.79. My bank made out a cashier's check to the Internal Revenue Service. And I kind of wish I'd have kept that receipt that the bank sent me, but at the time I wasn't all that amused by any of it. I was scared to death is what it was. And I realized that carrying debt is no way to run a business. And I pretty much studied everybody or learned from everybody that I worked for and around and been around. That's how they all did it, so that's what I did. And it cost me dearly. But when all of that was going on and I was desperately in trouble, and I literally went to the bank, I went to the store, I had 2 cartons. You guys remember the returnable pop bottles. There were an 8-pack of Pepsi bottles. I took them to the store, cashed them in, got $1.60, and I wanted to go buy a cup of coffee and sit in the coffee shop and think after that happened, because it was a tough time. It was a difficult time in my life. So, but when I did that, I realized that I had behind my house a 1,000 Linwood Gold Forsythia, and they had already gotten to be about this big. And I thought to myself, I know somebody who might be interested in those. I had a friend who was a buyer for a garden center, a small chain of garden centers. So I called him up. I'm like, listen, this is what happened. I need to sell these things. Are you interested? So he says, you know what? He said, I'll give you $1,200 for all of them in the ground. So I sold 1,000 plants in the ground. I didn't get what I should have, but instantly I had a check for $1,200 in my hand. Prior to that conversation with him, I had just spent probably $1 of the $1.60 that I got for the pop bottle. So plants were the one thing that were able to get me out of a situation and allow me to get back on my feet enough to, I had other things that were going on. I went out and I bought some supplies for another little business that I had just gotten into for the winter months. So, but again, it was the plants. So here we go. It was always plants. I'm always so bad. So that was oh boy, that would have been that was 1983. So then years later, as I was busting my tail trying to get everybody paid back, trying to fix my credit, trying to buy a house, trying to do all the things that we all go through, I started growing some plants in my backyard once again as an investment. I bought 1,000 little dwarf Alberta spruce cuttings, planted them in the backyard. And that was really just an investment. I knew I could buy them cheap and sell them for real money. So anyway, I did that, and I bought some rhododendron. The next thing I know, got a whole backyard full of plants, and that's kind of, in that process is where I invented the small plant business. Nobody else wanted to be in that business. all the retail centers were getting away from that, and they were putting plants in 2-gallon and 3-gallon containers. And I discovered that people want to buy that small plant in a small container. They love buying it. They can, because it's not a buying decision. You just grab a few of them, you spend $50, and you go home and plant them. You don't have to dig a big hole. You know, and all of that matters. So here we are, all these years later, September 2013. I watched people here in this nursery this weekend, and I had Canadian hemlocks for $30 and $40. I had lavender twist redbuds for $50. I had all kinds of plants in higher price. You know what they were buying? They were going crazy buying those little tiny plants. I mean, all weekend we sold, what was it, Dustin? About $3,400 worth of stuff. You know, in September, which typically isn't a good buying season, they were buying the little plants, the little tiny plants. We sold probably 3 or 4 $25 or $30 plants. Everything else was $5, $4.97 actually, and we did about $3,400 in the month of September. So, and that made me so happy to see people buying those little plants, because I knew that nothing had changed since I had done this, you know, from the very beginning. I've got customers all over the country who are doing this. So basically, that's what I want to do in this video series. I want to show you the step-by-step process that I go through to take a cutting, stick it in get it rooted, put it in a pot, and then sell it to a happy and willing customer. So let's go on. In the next video, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you step-by-step how we do all of that. So let's go to the next video.